Hello once again and welcome. Today we are flying the Dash8 Q400 from Seattle's Washington to Stewart in Canada. I had no idea just how short this runway was until I got there when I flew the flight. So you'll see it when we get there. I'd almost decided to fly the 737 in there, and I am truly grateful I didn't. So it's going to be an interesting flight. We start off in the XPlane11 using our Q400 from XPlane10, and we ended up ending the flight in XPlane10.50. Again, still using the Q400. So enjoy the flight. It gets kind of interesting, but you're going to have to come along for the ride to find out why we switched. And since we are going over 500 miles, we're going to go ahead and fill the wing tanks up. So, get that started there with the right wing. And going the wrong way with the left. That'll really do a problem with your weights and balances, but we'll fix that real quick here. Silly me. And reset the master caution buttons. And we'll get our aircraft ready to start engines here in just a minute. You have to pardon me while I have a little hot coffee while we're getting ready to go. Got our flight plan in, and we're going to set up some of our navigation items for the autopilot before we go, so that once we switch on the autopilot, she'll know what to do with us. We know we've got our course set, doing our altitude select. Yeah, we're just about ready to start engines here. And here we go. And 2 did not fire up. Alright, so let's do some checking. The fuel pumps look like they were working properly. Conditioners are at idle. Switches look good, and we do have the engines running now. Getting ready to push back here. XPlane11 has a real interesting pushback model for any airlines. So we've called the cart. But I must say he is a bit abusive on this particular instance. He's not so bad on others, but he smacked me really good.
Push hard coming.
And this is all stock scenery for XPlane11. The traffic, everything you see moving around the airport. Zero add-ons. The only add-ons I put on this so far is for virtual airline that I fly with, Allied Air Carrier. Matter of fact, this flight is one of those. And that's why we're flying where we're flying to, carrying passengers. And that's the only add-on I've added. Oh, plus my SimBuddy for tracking my flights and getting credit for flights for SimBuddy website. So, and they're working fine.
Okay, give me a second to clear.
Yeah, that's our tractor guy finally getting out of the way. And we're about ready to roll here. As soon as we let these carts go by. We'll head out here to the runway here at Seattle. And as with all my videos, I'm learning new things and learning new ideas with each video I do. I use HitFilm 4 Express for all my video editing. I use the freeware music and special effects primarily from the YouTube channel itself and other various locations where you have free downloads for music and so on around the web. And I use Audacity for my narrations audio. Again, another freeware that works excellent for my needs, because I am not a professional by any means, any way, shape, or form, and you can tell that from my videos. But the whole basis of this channel is to have fun, and I think we do that. And I think you'll see that with today's video. So, hope y'all enjoy it, and here we go. And rotate. And we're off and running. Excuse me there. Had to move the frog out of my throat. We'll make our first turn onto our heading to take us into Canada. And we'll switch over to autopilot here shortly. The flight is about 550 miles. So. And here we go. We're a good portion of the way there. And as you can see, these are the mountains as rendered through the stock use of XPlane11, and XPlane10 does a good job, but I found that the cockpit renderings and especially mountains, it's just that much better. The mountains, especially when you look at them, and there'll be a close-up here a little bit, they feel alive. They feel like there's growing things there. The trees, the ground cover. It looks like it belongs. It's not a photo. Like this lake down there. That looks inviting. I want to be in a boat down there fishing. It doesn't look like a photograph. It makes the earth look more alive. They could do some more work with the clouds. I'll give them that. I'd like to see at this altitude especially probably a whiter looking cloud. And here we go. First issue. Engine number 1 has just stopped producing any power whatsoever. Trying to do an air restart here, see if we can get it. Had no indication of a problem. It just quit. It happened that fast. So here we go for the restart. All switches are on, generators have been reset. It's just not producing power. So we'll do some we can fly along on one engine, no problem. I have to do some adjustments of the trim, and we'll have to use number 2's engine to give it more power. But as we swing around here, if you look at the number 1 engine, the blades look different. It's not producing It's turning, but it's not producing any power. The autopilot is still flying the plane okay. We've got full propeller RPMs, no problem there. We're showing pretty much zero. We're down to like 6% oil pressure. And again, it's not pushing the airplane. But we're on course. We're holding altitude, making some adjustments with trim. And the number 2 engine is doing fine. We're excuse me, flying at 76% power, and it's doing the job. So hopefully it will hold together. Not having any indication of the problem, I have no idea where to start looking. Something to analyze later. We just got a flutter out of the second engine. It dropped down to about 30% and then spun back up to 75, 76. This does not bode well to a good flight. One just bounced back up. It's not producing any power, but ITT's in the red now when it was down to 0 earlier. We're at 72% on number 2 engine, and we're at 0 on number 1. Propeller RPMs are maxed. There goes number 2's down and going down. There we go. Number 1's back down to about 12%. I promise, I did my walk around, I did all my maintenance checks. This shouldn't be happening. The gods are against me today. Engine 1 is losing, going. Number 2's holding. Oil pressure and everything's good on it. Oil pressure on engine 1 is down to about 8%. So yeah, this is all going south. we're still holding altitude, which is good because we're surrounded by mountains. With no place to land. Okay, if she'll just hold together here, we'll keep flying. We just lost 2. Oh, the day just gets better. The exact thing happened with 1 has now happened to engine 2. So, we went down. But everybody got out the fishing poles and had a good time. So, unable to get the engines back working on that airplane, I switched over to XPlane10, and here we are. Looking at the rendering there with all my add-ons to XPlane10. And the mountains look good. As you notice, the rendering of the cockpit itself, as well as the exterior, even with all my add-ons that I have in XPlane10, it's just not as good. Especially when we look a little closer at the mountains, they don't have that living appearance. They look more like photos. And the Q400 cockpit, as good as it is, doesn't look as natural as it does color-wise as it does in 11, even though this is an airplane that was built for XPlane10, not 11. Although this one is running just the way it's supposed to. Engines aren't quitting on me. I have to figure out what that is. You see that big gorge in front of us, and that runs to the right and the left. We're going to be turning into that gorge. Yep, and I got to lose some altitude, which I can't do until I get to the gorge. You can just see it near the center post of the window there, that little blotch down there on the river. That's where we're going to go. That little tiny place. If I'd come in with a 737, I'd have never stopped anywhere close to the end of that runway. We are in SimBuddy, showing you where the Stewart's at, just ahead of us. So we're going to make a big circle here in a minute to help lose altitude. There it is. Oh boy. Okay, we'll just have to slow this beastie down. And there's not a great deal, once you start losing altitude, get down in this gorge, there is not a lot of room to be moving around. Now, if we can keep it out of the water, that'll be half the battle. There's no doubt in my mind I can get this thing down. And get it down level. I just don't know in how many pieces. That is such a short runway. It's a general aviation runway. With the turboprops, I'll be able to get it stopped, no problem. What I'm going to try and do, though, is I want to stall the airplane just above the ground at the end of the runway. That's the tricky part, is not being too high when I do it. My bitching Betty sounds more like a bitching George. I need to shut him up. I know my sink rate, and it's not a pretty picture. But here we go. Hold on to your tails, because here we go. Yeah, it's still a little high. Stall warning. There we go. Oh, bounced it. Okay. But still, we're down in one piece, and we're safe. Hit the reversers here, and we'll get her stopped. Because nobody in their right mind brings this size airplane into this place. But then again, the operative words were right mind. So you take it from there. But we're down. We're here. Let me use a little of their terra firma here and turn around so we can go back to the parking area. And here we come. But I filled up the tanks for this flight because I'm not sure they've got my kind of aviation fuel here. And I hope that little tank right next to the building isn't the fuel, because that might fill up just one of my wings. Oh well. We'll just pull over here and park it. And by golly, we're just going to watch that landing again. Why? Because we can. It wasn't pretty, but it was fun. And we didn't break the airplane. Just one more time. Here we go. Bang! Told you I bounced it. Man, that was so much fun. Just one last time. It stalled it a little bit early. But all in all, as they say, any landing you can walk away from is an excellent landing. So all is good. Thanks for watching. Always like having folks along with me. Come back again and we'll have some more fun flying. So, from Bug Eater 64, till next time, safe flying.